Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. I greatly appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about another kaiju movie, and this one's kind of a unique one because it's out of North Korea. Yeah, some people know about this one. It's kind of hard to find with actual English subtitles, but it does exist out there. I actually found such a copy. Actually, not a copy. It's on YouTube, so you can find it. It does have some subtitles to it, but it's very, very, very iffy. Is the best way I can describe it. So, what is the movie called? It is called Pulgasari from North Korea. Okay, so before we get into the actual plot and some of the details behind Pulgasari, just a couple things before we start. I decided when I was going to do reviews of kaiju movies that we were going to not make fun of them for the low production values, because the low production values are actually part and parcel of why we like these kaiju movies. So we're not really here to make fun of that. We're here to embrace that and talk about the kaiju movies in general. The other part I want to say before we move on is that there will be, for this particular movie, I am going to explain the entire plot, so there will be spoilers. I'm going to tell you how it ends. And there's a reason for that. So anyway, so you've been warned. Spoiler warnings, spoiler alerts. You've been warned. I told you. No complaining. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the plot. Okay, the movie starts in a village, and this is an agrarian village. They are farmers. That's what they are. That's what they do. They have a blacksmith in the village who makes the tools needed for the village to farm, to make sustenance, to eat, to be able to make a little bit of money for their own welfare. And he also makes, of course, other things like cauldrons and stuff like that. So very useful tools for an agrarian society that is very much communal. Hint, hint. This is a very communist movie. Anyway, so the story begins with the daughter of the blacksmith walking around to the attendant of the blacksmith and giving them water as they take a short break before they continue on making tools for the farming trade. And at some point, the blacksmith says to one of his attendants, a skilled attendant who wants to marry his daughter, and says, "Hey, why don't you just go over there to that bush and clean up? There's some stuff going on over there. Why don't you go over there, clean up?" And the attendant's just like, over here? And the blacksmith is like, yeah, go clean up. Why aren't you cleaning up? Come on. Fine, I'll show you how to do it. And so the old blacksmith walks over there, pulls away a branch, and you see weapons. And then the story turns into, you find out that the attendants and the blacksmith attendants are actually part of a bandit group that has been plaguing the local governor who has been appointed by the king. And the reason why they're doing this is to help the farms in the area be safe, one, and two, to not have the governor come in and take everything from everybody all the time. So once the blacksmith understands this, and he's just like, okay, well, that's too bad. I really had wanted you to marry my daughter, and but you're going to have to go to the hills now, because sooner or later they're going to find out that that you guys are part of the bandits, and that you, the one who wants to marry my daughter, is actually the leader of the bandit group. So you're going to need to go away from the village so you don't cause us any trouble. And they willingly do that. They see the logic, and they're just like, yes, of course, we will go. And of course, there's this little love thing going on between the blacksmith's attendant and his daughter. And he's just like, I'll come back for you. He kind of never does. So as soon as they try to leave the village, the governor shows up and says to the blacksmith, The king has decided to empower me to tell you that you're going to make weapons for us, because we got some bandits in the hill that we need to kill. Of course, they're talking about the guys that are hiding around the corner of the hut. And the blacksmith is just like, okay, well, I don't have any iron with which to do that, so I can't make the weapons. He's trying to find an excuse not to do this. And the governor says to him, goes, oh no, we've taken care of that. And suddenly these soldiers with carts come in, and there's like, some of them are laden with metal. Yeah, we've been going to the villages and taking all their metal, so you have stuff to work with. And as a matter of fact, we're going to take your villages metal, all the farming instruments, your cauldrons, their pots and pans, whatever metal you have, we're all going to take it, and you're going to make the weapons. And as a result, the bandits get together, and they come storming down, and there's a big fight, and the bandits lose. And most of the bandits are able to run away, but the blacksmith attendants and the guy who wants to marry his daughter are captured along with the blacksmith. The blacksmith is imprisoned as well, and he is not to be fed. So for the next 20 minutes, it's this prison story where the blacksmith attendants go on a hunger strike until the blacksmith is able to eat, and he's an old man. By the way, they call him by the traditional name Uncle. He's not really their uncle, but that's how they see him, right? So there's a lot of loyalty here going on. And of course, the daughter, and actually he has a young son, come to try to feed him. The guards shoo them away, knock them down. They keep trying to feed him. The young son, takes rice, puts it into a ball, and starts throwing it into the window of the little prison cell that the blacksmith is in. And the blacksmith, he takes this rice, and he's about to eat it, and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do this. He's just not going to eat. Instead, what he does is he manipulates the rice into a little creature called Pulgasari. And he names it Pulgasari. And he appeals to the gods of the sky and the earth to create a monster, Pulgasari, that will grow as it eats metal to protect his family, his village, to protect the oppressed against the evil king and the evil governor. And keep in mind, it's like a little statuette about this big. And then after he makes it, he makes his, plea to the gods. He just kind of goes, and he dies. They take his body out. The daughter retrieves the little Pulgasari statuette, and somehow the attendants escape, and they go back to their little bandit army. She goes back to the village, and they're trying to figure out what to do. She pricks her finger, a little bit of blood hits the Pulgasari statuette, and it comes to life. And so there's this little thing going, walking around, and it starts eating metal. And as it eats metal, it grows larger and larger and larger and larger, until finally it's big enough that it's like kaiju size, right? So because of the blood of the blacksmith's daughter, it has a special connection. Now we see this in the Godzilla movies, right? We see the little priestess, calling upon Godzilla, or the boy calling on Gamera, or the boy calling on Godzilla, or there's a connection that these kaiju monsters have with various human beings. So Pulgasari is no different. His connection is with blacksmith's daughter. So obviously she joins up with the bandit army. They kind of grow in strength, and every time the evil armies of the governor come to attack, Pulgasari starts to grow because he's eating all the metal. And finally, there's a battle wherein the governor dies. And so this gets word to the king. The king sends in a special general, and the war continues, and Pulgasari gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. They finally figure out the connection. The evil king finally figures out the connection between the blacksmith's daughter and Pulgasari, and says, okay, here's what we need to do. We're losing by going toe-to-toe with this guy, so we're going to kidnap the daughter, find a way to kidnap the daughter, bring her back, threaten to kill her unless Pulgasari surrenders, and we kill him. And he lets us kill him. And that's what they do. So they actually trap him. He surrenders because he doesn't want the blacksmith's daughter to die. And he allows himself to be buried alive, and he's dead, right? The blacksmith's daughter is just beside herself, and everyone's just like, oh God, what are we going to do? The evil king is starting to turn the screws, right? And so finally she cuts her hand or pricks her finger, I forget what it was, and squeezes blood over the grave of Pulgasari, and he comes back to life. And he goes on a rampage in the Imperial City, destroys the Imperial Palace with of course, the evil king inside, and they win. But the movie doesn't end there. It continues. And what is happening is that the people, and this is important, this is why I want to kind of give you that spoiler warning. The people who were on the side of Pulgasari keep giving him, like willingly, give him their medal. So the whole point of this war was to prevent the evil king and the evil governor from taking everything away from everyone. Now they're willing to give up everything to Pulgasari for his protection. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're not doing a really good trade-off here. So the blacksmith's daughter understands this, and she goes, oh geez, if we continue doing this, Pulgasari is going to demand more, and then he is going to become the oppressor, and there's not much we can do to stop that if he decides to do that. So she runs to a bell, like a big gong bell kind of thing, and she hides herself in it and sacrifices her life because Pulgasari is like, oh, our bell, snaps it up. She's inside, and he eats it and her. So he ingests her, he kills her, eats her up. And once he realizes what he has done, he does the, kaiju, and he turns to stone, crumbles, and that's it. But the people are saved. Okay, so that is the plot of Pulgasari. There's and now we're going to get into the reasons why I told you the whole thing and why I gave you a spoiler alert warning. So let's go into that. Okay, so let's talk about the production of Pulgasari, because this is kind of interesting. So it's a North Korean movie. So that means that when it was made, it was really made for North Koreans, maybe the Chinese, maybe in Vietnamese. It didn't really go outside of the country that much in terms of release. It wasn't like it had a big showing in America. As a matter of fact, the English dub or the English subtitles, I don't even think showed up until about 10 years ago. So it's one of those things where it's kind of interesting that when you think about a place like North Korea, we hear about people eating grass and, how totalitarianism it is, and how, the Kim family is just like a bunch of evil people that kill their people at a whim, making movies, that they actually have a cinematic tradition. And that is due to Kim Jong-il, who loved movies. He loved movies. So he had always wanted North Korea to make movies, and that's what he did. So he produced a lot of the North Korean movies during his lifetime. And Pulgasari was one of them. He's the producer for that movie. And so it's kind of interesting how they every movie we make has to be kind of propaganda, right? Because we want the people to understand that we are the benefactors of them, and that they should be grateful to us, and so we need to keep making these propaganda movies. So Pulgasari was definitely a propaganda movie. It was based on a lost film in South Korea of the same name. So there was an actual Pulgasari kaiju movie made in South Korea prior to this, and it was largely based on that. But I don't think anybody can find the film. I'm not sure that there is an existent copy out there or not. If folks know that there is one, please let me know down below, because that would be a useful piece of information for cinema history. Anyway, so there is a North Korean cinematic tradition, and they made kaiju movies because that's what you did during the 70s and 80s in that area of the world. That made money. And of course, it's a state budget, meaning that the North Korean government controls how much money they spend on it, which means that, yeah, the budget is pretty low, but, it's the government saying, well, do it anyway. So, the budget almost kind of doesn't matter. But what's interesting is that, when we look at North Korea, we look at a lot of things that are backwards technologically speaking, right? They're always kind of 3 or 4 steps behind in many, many non-military technological factors. So it's, like they have their own internet that is not connected to the outside world, but it's very meh. And, various technologies are kind of like 20, 30 years old. And so it's kind of unique to see that they made a kaiju movie that was kind of on par with what was being made around them in South Korea, in China, in Vietnam, in Japan, most importantly. So it's kind of, if you watch this movie, and I'm going to put it over on, if I can, I'm going to try and put it over on the CyTube for you to watch. It's a thing. It has the normal production values that you would assign to a normal kaiju movie. So that's kind of interesting. So how did that happen? How did that come around? I have to go look at my notes at this point. So how were they able to do that? Well, if you know that you don't have certain resources, human resources with which to make a good kaiju movie, what do? You take them. If you're the North Koreans, if you're part of the Kim family, you just don't go, oh, well, I don't have a good enough director. You go, well, then, if you're a Kim, you go, we'll just take one. So that's what they did. So the director of Pulgasari is Shin Sang-ok. And he was actually kidnapped. The North Koreans sent an intel team across the border, across the DMZ, with the specific mission to kidnap a movie director. They did this quite often, actually. Actresses, actors, and directors. They would pull them across the border and kidnap them so that Kim could make good movies. And so, sure enough, Shin Sang-ok, who was a film director in South Korea, kidnapped and taken to North Korea in 1978. And he was forced to make them propaganda action movies and things like that. Pulgasari, he was commissioned by Kim Jong-il to do Pulgasari. And he did Pulgasari. And as he did Pulgasari, he put a hidden message in there. And it was kind of interesting because the hidden message has to do with how the movie ends. So you see Pulgasari, starting to be corrupt and taking all the willingly, the villagers are willingly giving him metal, all their metal that they were supposed to keep, but giving it to him because he needs it to grow more powerful. And the people are united in this, and of course the blacksmith's daughter says, no, this is wrong, he's corrupted, and now he's going to become the oppressor, so we have to stop this. So that was Sang-ok's secret message, was a subtle hint to the North Korean people to say, hey, the Kims are not good people. Maybe you should rise up and take the power back. Because you're just willingly giving everything you own to these people who are not really doing anything from you and are just taking. So that was his hidden message in there, and he had hoped that some people would figure it out and a revolution, another revolution, would come around to bring down the Kim dynasty. Not so much, right? Nobody got the message. Literally, nobody got the message. So what he did is that one of the actresses that he married while he was in captivity, he and she actually managed to escape North Korea and emigrate to the United States. So at least there's a little bit of a happy ending right there for that. So, like I said, this is for North Korea to be able to make a standard kaiju movie with standard kaiju production values is kind of amazing, given who they are and what their budgets are and how horrible things are there, even in 1985 when it was released. So it's a very interesting watch. If you keep that in mind, you're like watching this movie, you're just like, wow, they actually made an effort, right? Even though they did have to kidnap a director to make the movie. Anyway, but like I said, it never was intended for international release. It was really just for North Koreans, maybe the Chinese, maybe the Vietnamese, communist Vietnamese. So you have that. So this Pulgasari has always had this cult classic kind of feel to it, and it's been going like that for a long time. And like I said, it hasn't been until recent years that there has even been a subtitled, an effort to make a subtitle version of this movie, which I found on YouTube. It's the language is very sparse, so I think the person who translated it probably has a working knowledge of Korean, but it's probably not that detailed. But it gets you through the movie. And is this an enjoyable movie? Actually, it is. In terms of kaiju movies, older kaiju movies, yes, it is. Is it worth your time to check it out? I think so. If you're a cinemaphile, this is definitely something historic that you should check out. If you just like kaiju movies in general, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and by the production values. So yeah, if you like I said, if I can get it onto CyTube, as of this filming, I'm not sure that I can, but I'm gonna try. So go over to the CyTube. The link will be down below, and if I'm able to get up, please watch it and let me know what you think about it. Obviously there is definitely North Korean communist Kim Dynasty overtones going on here, messaging of the people, the workers of the world unite, labor, blah blah blah, all that stuff that you find in there. But it's also a kaiju movie, so yeah, give it a go, see what you think about it, and let me know. All right. Pulgasari, you should watch it for the simple reason that it was made in North Korea. It's a kaiju movie made in North Korea, so you should watch it. And if you do, let me know what you think about it down below. Keep it clean, no trolling. Thank you very much. Next week, I am probably not going to do a regular review video or topical video. I think it's going to be again stuff from Genshin again, simply because I actually got my week booked up pretty hard this week in terms of life events that need to happen. Nothing bad, just need to take care of some stuff, visit some people, and say goodbye to some people. That sounded cryptic. Hanging out with some friends online before they go to Japan. Unfortunately, I was not able to go with them. But just wasn't in cards this year. So I just kind of want to spend time with them and with other people. So, sometimes you got to take care of yourself and the stuff that goes on in your life. Speaking of which, please do that for yourselves, because I would love to see you in future conventions, face to face. So do what you got to do to take care of yourself. Make sure you don't get COVID, or if you do get COVID, that you're in a place where it doesn't affect you that badly. Maybe just a bad summer cold, and that'll be it, and you'll be fine. But otherwise, yeah, please take care of yourselves. I want to talk to you in the future, and yeah, because I love you guys, and I will see you next time.